Ken, if we can start with selection, Butters is absolutely right. You've got no questions.
Yeah, Zach, the only really confirmation thing I can give you is Zach will definitely play and Lockie Jones won't play.
What was the debate on Cleary? Is he okay, or
he's
on the emergency
okay.
list, but he's not playing?
Yeah, no, he's okay. We've still got a bit to work through, but Tom's come back from his knee, which has caused him some problems right through the year. We seem to have had one or two of our defenders each week coming off a sore knee. So Tom's coming back from a sore knee now, which we've given him some rest and recovery. If he needed to play, we could play.
And is Georgiades good to go?
Yes, yeah. Mitch will be playing. Obviously, at this stage, he's playing. So you never say they're definitely all playing, because I could say that about everyone in the team. But yeah, we expect that the team we've named will go out there and play, but we still have got a bit to get through, and it's that stage of the year where, unfortunately, players are a little bit sorer.
So you've got some doubts on some at the moment?
Yeah, we're still working through some stuff. Yes, absolutely. So normally I sit here in front of you really confidently and say we won't be changed unless anything happens. Well, we're in that situation. We expect to be who we are with what we've selected, but we have got a couple of boys that we're checking out still.
Do you want to nominate them, or
no?
Okay. Ruck-wise, were you pretty well stuck with that because Lycett's not ready to go? Or no?
Yeah, Scott will have his first game this weekend. We were hoping he'd get some minutes last week, but he just didn't get the week of preparation he needed. So he'll definitely get some minutes this weekend, and that'll give him a chance to be available for the week after or the week after. So we'll just work through that as we need to with Scott and his recovery.
Just with the dynamics, I mean, Charlie was so good in ruck, that Todd's so good in forward. Is that, I guess, helping put Charlie in ruck and give him a bit more time on the
ball? And Jeremy's also been really good for us in and around the ball, and Sam Powell-Pepper at times. So we've had some flexibility. But yeah, certainly Todd being able to hold up well in the front half's been really important for us. But, as you said, Mitch, another one who's been able to be okay for us in the forward half. So it's not ideal, we all get that, but it's what we've dealt with at the moment.
Now Todd's forward line, you're now structuring it around what you can do instead of you've been accused.
That's nice language, isn't it? I love it. It's Todd's forward line. I think that's a great sign of growth for us as a club and for Todd as an individual. But we're starting to use, not us, but people watching are starting to use language around what Todd's bringing to the forward line. But I think it's certainly a forward line. It's not Todd's, it's not Charlie's. We love to put names on who's in charge of the forward line, but they all work together collectively and they all have a piece to play, and hopefully Todd continues to play a significant piece.
I guess the context of that was that you've been accused of being too Charlie conscious and going to him all the time, and now it's sort of not.
I've answered that question before too. I'd much rather have Charlie Dixon than not, because we didn't have him for 10 weeks of this year at the start. Anyone who thinks you can be better without Charlie Dixon or you're too Charlie conscious is a bit silly.
You've talked about living in the now. Is it still capable of living in the now when everyone keeps hearing that you're on last chances, that you've got to win this one?
We just had a chat coming in that living in the now is still what it is, and we're in a position where we have to be that way, and we're not going to change our view, and our focus is going to stay narrow, and it's going to stay on the game that's coming up immediately. Clearly, with the way the season keeps playing out, any loss makes it harder, any win makes it easier, but that's what we have to deal with. That's the position we've put ourselves in.
Have you felt the group's dealt with? I mean, it's impossible to ignore what the Premiership tells you at some stage. How have they dealt with that?
No, the group will act and behave the way we lead them, I think, and that's what we've been able to do, is that through the coaching team and everyone around the football club and the players, we've maintained our focus narrow, and we ain't going to go away from that. And Tom Jonas is a great reason for me to be confident that that's how the players feel, because I talk with Tom obviously regularly, Tom, Ollie, Das, and there's absolutely no distraction for them. They are chasing as hard as they can chase.
You told us a couple of weeks ago that it wasn't a matter of getting better but being consistent. That Fremantle game exposed
consistent
your worst and your best. How have you dealt with that during the week?
Yeah, no, we look at the reasons for those little momentum swings, and we drill down on momentum and when it happened and what those minutes, the 12 minutes of the second quarter and the 12 minutes of the start of the last quarter, what was different, what were we absolutely elite at, and what were we poor at in those moments. And it's a pretty simple understanding for us, so we live and learn.
Is there an answer to why there would be such a vast difference in your best and your worst?
It's as harsh as it can sound. It's such a minor adjustment but it becomes so big in a game of football. If you get your shape wrong or you get your contest wrong, you pay a big price in small moments. And if you get it right, you actually can put pressure on the opposition, which we've also done a number of times.
How far off your best do you think you are at the moment?
Well, right now we're at our best because we have to be at our best with what we've got. But there's some growth still with what we haven't had and what we need, and whether it be consistency of the team or consistency of individuals, we're still growing, or whether that be a clean run with some individuals who haven't always had that go perfect. But we're getting better. We're getting closer. I mean, we've 7-3. We've lost to Richmond, Freo, and Geelong. They're going okay. So that's just the form of the football season. And our biggest problem has been and still is creating us problems was clearly our start.
How are you handling Alia? He's had some challenges this year and certainly challenged last week. Is it an issue of confidence with him or mindset, or is he just exposed in different roles?
I think Alia's been pretty reasonable since he got back after his ankle injury, which was a significant ankle injury, but since then he's been building, and up until last week he was building really strongly. We were really comfortable with. In last week he wasn't at his absolute best, but if we overreact or underreact to one individual game, it's not great judgment. I think he's been building okay for us. I think he'll play very well tomorrow.
What ingredients outside of wins do you think the two teams that played last night have that your team doesn't have at the moment?
It's a tough question. I watched the game last night. It was a great game, and it was a physically tough game. There's a relentlessness around both teams. I think that's the key. I think the question before around it's how many minutes you can be that, because we're capable of being that with any team in the competition. But the top teams usually separate themselves with the amount of minutes they do that for, and both those teams last night look like they've got big minutes in them at the moment.
Are you worst in the league at the moment for scoring efficiency? How are you looking at attacking that this weekend, considering that did kind of lose you guys the game last weekend?
Yeah, it's not your choice to be not to be scoring as well as we like. We know that we've defended really well, but ideally you have to be able to score quite quickly. And last week was a great example where we were scoring quickly, but then you have to make every moment count when you get too far behind. Our conversion is something that we work on like every football team, week in, week out. We expect it to be getting better. It hasn't quite delivered the results we need. But
aside from personnel, what are some other reasons behind that and your goal kicking inaccuracy, particularly late in games?
Yeah, our goal kicking accuracy is... It can unfortunately be such a minor thing that it can just become with a little bit of confidence in the moment. I don't think it can be adjusted greatly from one shot to the other. You watch some games, watch the game last night, I see players missing that we've been kicking goals all year, and it just happens. It's football, unfortunately, and these blokes spend a lot of time on their craft, and they spend a lot of time fundamentally getting that craft to an elite level, but occasionally it breaks.
How hard is it to actually replicate late game situations like, say, Robbie and Todd had last week at training?
Yeah, it's really hard. The reality is you can't absolutely get at that point. Rob's got great experience and he's done it a lot of times for us in the positive. So again, I think if we react to one, we should be looking at the 5 or 6 that have been complete winners for us.
For sure, but I guess the stats say that I think in the last quarter, the last quarters this year, you are the least accurate team in the competition. So it's a bit of a trend, obviously. Yeah,
that's what the stats are there for, to give you an indicator of 1 to 18, and the margins are usually very, very close. But someone ends up, unfortunately, down the lower end, someone ends up at the top end. It's like offence and defence, both teams. I mean, we rank average, very average in offence collectively, but we rank very strongly in defence. So it's just what you put together over that, to me, is always the picture you get at the end of the season. You put it all together and it comes out and it spits you out a number and it says, go to work on these things. Clearly, we haven't not gone to work on the offensive part of our game, whether that be the last quarter, first quarter, because it wasn't that far ago. We were spending time on our first quarters. We kicked the first 3 goals last week, but still didn't win us the game.
Ken, what do you see in GWS? The past month they've pushed teams that are either in the 8 or want to be in the 8. So, they've got that period of freedom going on a little bit, and they're playing offensive. We're just talking about offensive football. They're playing with some risk-free in their offence, I think, and they're a really dangerous team. They've got such talent, around the ball and forward the ball, that they can, they can put a score on anyone. And I think the game against Bulldogs 2 or 3 weeks ago was the highest scoring game of the season. So, they've got that freedom at the moment that they're taking some risks, and it's been working for them okay. I think they're 3-3 since Mark took over. So it's just what you're challenged with at the moment. Their talent is really, really strong.
Is it vastly different, though, from what you'd expect from a Leon Cameron coach side in the way that they are playing at the moment?
Well, they're certainly playing slightly differently. I mean, whether it's vastly different or not, because I think they work together. Clearly, the people who are up there are still working in the same program. So, Leon was the figurehead. The senior coach gets all the credit and all the negatives, but unfortunately, it's not quite that way. But they've certainly changed their game style, though. You know, they were a bit more long down the line than they have been in the last 6 weeks.
How does Zach Butters change your midfield dynamic now that he comes back in?
Makes us better. It makes us better. He plays forward of the ball too. He helps our scoring in lots of things, and Zach brings lots of stuff. You know, as Connor does, as Travis does, as Ollie, all our midfielders, they share a bit of time in the forward line, and certainly Zach certainly helps us from a scoring capacity with lots of things, whether it be score assists or goal assists or scoring himself. So he brings a lot of dynamic to us around the ball and forward of the ball.
Nice to have him come in then when Lockie Jones obviously goes out, and he's been doing that for you as well.
Yeah, they're different players. That's one thing to be really clear on. They are very different players. Lockie's very much an elite pressure player for us, big body who implies pressure a lot. Zach certainly brings pressure, but he's not physically as big, but he's got some creativity that's probably at a different level to Locks too. So they're both, what I like is they're both young developing players and got such upside.
Can while everyone on the outside thinks it's done, does the group still believe the season's alive for it?
Yeah, of course we do, because footy does stupid things. Footy does crazy things at any stage, and you're never sure. You know, like 5 weeks ago, it was Melbourne's, they couldn't lose it. It's not the case anymore. 5 weeks' time, it'll be someone else's turn. You know, last night it was Geelong. I'm not sure. The footy does crazy things. I keep saying it, and people probably don't like it, but I've seen it. You know, things happen from nowhere in this game, and they just keep happening.
So you think this group's capable of getting on a roll of putting 5, 6 together and then?
Well, we're 7-3 in the last 10. You know, it says that we are. So we've got a game tomorrow night that we just need to stay focused on, and if we do that, that gives us a chance. That's the only message I can give you that's really clear. You get past that, and you're no chance.
It's kind of easy to say we're preparing for this game as we do any other game, but is there anything you are doing differently considering the season's on the line? No, sorry. I'm trying to answer that question politely without being... That's what we do every week. We prepare for this game like it's the most and only important game for us to play, because we have to play it well. Opposition make you do different things week in, week out. So you prepare slightly different because of the opposition you play against, because of the ground you play on. All those things are slightly different. But the reality is we focus on what we can control, and that is improving our club every day. That's what we set out to do at the start of this week. That's what we'll set out to do at the start of next week. The opposition will be different.
Just back to the goal kicking for a second. Do you need to do anything different with it in terms of bringing in a specialised goal kicking coach or changing the way you go about it in the off-season?
All those things at some stage would get visited by us and every other club in the competition, but we would spend our knowledge and our information and then make sure we resource what we need to resource, whether that be goal kicking, whether that be tackling, whether that be anything. We always do that as a footy club.
So can I just sneak in one more? I don't know if
you can sneak in one more.
Thank you. I don't know if you picked up the local paper today and have a look at your back page news that you're staying.
I'm glad I can leave now.
Do you have a bit of a chuckle though? I mean, that was never going to happen, but I mean, yeah, what's your reaction when you see that sort of
Can I answer it like I answered the footy question before? Strange things happen. Strange things happen. Strange stories get written. Please, I think it's just come